Welcome back, everyone, to LCS. We are getting ready for our second game between FlyQuest and Shopify. And if you missed it, then FlyQuest will probably not be surprising to have won that game, but the manner that they did it against Shopify was what was truly impressive.
It really was. It was such a slow-feeling game, almost just not a very exciting, confidence-inspiring type of win for FlyQuest because they were down 5 kills to 10 up against Soul Point, and then literally 45 seconds later, they killed the enemy Nexus. So it just kind of happened like that. A couple things to note going into this final game is if FlyQuest wins this series and then they beat Cloud9 next week, they would be top 2 and guarantee themselves a playoff bye through the first round. But I think the most pressing news going into this game is Shopify, who even though they've looked a lot better since Boogie came back in, because their overall game score is so bad, if they get 2-0'd here, they are eliminated from playoffs. We'd actually have our 6 playoff teams and we'd just be talking about seeding. So they must win at least one game in this series to keep their tiebreaker hopes alive for top 6. Pressure's on.
Yep. Now for Shopify, they know they have to lock in more than ever now as FlyQuest in this draft phase, continuing some of the same bans as from the previous game, Brand being taken away from Boogie as he was so instrumental on it in their success against Dignitas last weekend. Shopify seemingly don't change any of their own bans, because I believe it was also Kalista, Nidalee, and Ezreal, probably a trade of the Aurora ban since they were red side last time. But now that they're fighting for blue side this time around, what is their priority? And it's the Ashe.
Absolutely wanting to get early lane prio bot lane. It was relatively successful for them last game. With the Jhin Nautilus, they were able to get a 2v2 kill onto Massu Busio, so can't hate on an early pick Ashe for BVOY.
FlyQuest, what is their response? Gonna go for the Renekton blind pick once again. Shopify did have the counter pick with the Gnar for FakeGod, and even though he was quite massive in a lot of the fights that Shopify found, the fact that FlyQuest were able to still play the map severely better than Shopify allowed Bwipo to still stay relevant throughout the game. And for Shopify, I'm curious if they're going to actually run the Ivern back, because while, yes, it plays into what Boogie needs to do for the team, support and facilitate the rest of them, it does make him a non-damage factor because your only job is just providing heals and shields to the rest of the team.
It does. It's going to be a difficult choice for them here. They have a little bit more CC already with the Ashe hard engage on the Ashe arrow, but the Lillia was effective for Inspired in game 1, and it's kind of on Shopify to flip the script and try something a little bit different. Brand ban, good as usual, as you pointed out. The Ashe was the other blue side ban in game 1 by FlyQuest, which is why they've taken it. And pretty much their 1-2-3 is very similar to game 1. So in game 1, Shopify picked Ivern, Gnar, Nautilus. Here they have Ashe, Gnar, Nautilus, so they could still get the Ivern if it comes through to them on 4-5.
Yeah. And for Shopify, it's a core with engage, strong engage from every single champion. The arrow and the death charge will always at least guarantee someone is going to die or someone is going to be forced to burn summoner spells. So for FlyQuest now, they did this last time around in game 1. They left Massu and Busio's picks up to the second round of the draft, and they went with the Lucian Nami last time around. I wonder if that's going to change or if they're going to go for a run back of the same draft.
Well, it's going to depend on these 4-5 bans. So Zeri, Varus, Renata, and Misfortune were all banned in this stage of game 1, even though the teams were on different sides. It's already changed a little bit with the Zyra ban because the jungle hasn't been locked in yet. So FlyQuest is likely going to target with jungle bans, and Shopify is going to be just firing off AD bans at the moment. But FlyQuest is very comfortable, I feel like, right now. They have exactly the 3 topside champions that they won game 1 with, even though they probably feel like they didn't play that well. And unless that Lucian Nami get disrupted, I think they're probably just going to pick it again.
Probably. And for FlyQuest, there wasn't any trouble of needing someone else to face check from the bottom side of the map. Inspired and Bwipo were always the first ones in, and even then you can always check those bushes with the amount of poke that they were boasting on game 1 draft. Shopify down to their last ban. FlyQuest, even though that we on the casting desk might have felt that Ivern was not as fulfilling for Boogie as it could have been as a damage source. FlyQuest are still respecting its power, and so Shopify now are going to take away that Nami, recognizing that they might have gone for the Lucian Nami again.
That's a good ban, I think. This does also mean, though, Misfortune, Varus, Zeri, all available. Varus, the strongest laner of the three, I believe, and also will still give them a lot of poke, so they can play a very similar macro style that they did in Game 1 if they lock in the Varus, so not surprising if they end up locking this one.
And it gives you a nice form of lockdown. It's not guaranteed, but if you do land that Chain of Corruptions tagged along the side of the rest of the engage that FlyQuest has to offer with the Lilting Lullaby, there is now stronger pick potential for FlyQuest, and now with the support counter pick going all the way down to Busio, I'm curious if they'll bust something out like a Bard or something else that gives you strong forms of engage, since the Nautilus is already taken away.
Yeah.
The Leona was banned by them, and Shopify are going with the Taliyah. I don't think we've seen Taliyah in quite some time, and this could technically be flexed between jungle and mid.
It could. Depends on what they lock here. Probably not. So that's going to be Lucian mid, Taliyah jungle. Fairly standard, even if we don't see a huge amount of Lucian Taliyah now. The only really good setup they have for the Taliyah is the Nautilus and bot lane, but at least they have damage spread across their jungler and AD carry, and maybe Boogie can keep up with the clear speed of Lillia. But in terms of actually like landing skill shots and Lillia in the open field, it's going to give Inspired a lot of tools to dance around.
Yeah, and FlyQuest have gone with powerful engage as their last option.
Rell.
The Rell locked in for Busio. So now there is a confident go button from the bottom side of the map. Busio can always flash in, set up that Magnet Storm crash down combo, and it gives FlyQuest the space to operate and engage those fights.
Really does. Again, backs completely against the wall for Shopify Rebellion. If they lose this game, they are eliminated from playoffs. If FlyQuest win this game, then they will be one series away from a top 2 seed because they play Cloud9 next week in the final week of the LCS regular season. Confidence is not that high for Shopify because a lot went well for them in that Game 1, and they still lost, and the core of the FlyQuest team comp is still there. It's Inspired on Lillia, Bwipo on Renekton, and Quad on Corki. So let's see if Shopify can step up when they have to and take a win.
Clutch factors, maybe for Shopify, are going to be in low supply, but for them, it's what they have to hope for. It's going to be more than a miracle's work to turn this one around. Shopify are going to have to really dig deep and catch FlyQuest by surprise, play a game that FlyQuest is completely unfamiliar with at this moment. Whereas FlyQuest, I mean, for them, Game 1, even if it's below the standard of play that they're usually showing here in the LCS, their sights are clearly set on other matters at the moment. They are making sure to treat respect with Shopify when they needed to, but it still seems like they're just way better than them in every level.
FlyQuest definitely able to win games even when everything doesn't go well for them. Fans have been great all day. This has been a great day of LCS. The first series delivered, Team Liquid versus Cloud9. Now, just, you know, part of me is pulling for Shopify here. I like the Boogie story coming back in and making things happen, and they did spot Bwipo just now. Bwipo, I think, thinks he was in there free. Now he's running away, should be able to get out. Smack him, FakeGod.
Yeah. And Bwipo does skill the slice and dice just to make sure he doesn't get caught down in that left flank. But he did place a ward in the blue buff quadrant, so they'll have eyes on that blue buff once Boogie tries to start it up. And so with Taliyah jungle, this is something that we saw a lot of, I want to say, towards the earlier spring split. I definitely remember seeing it a lot of last year as a combo. But the problem is that recently, even with the Faded Ashes buff that came into play for League of Legends, the Taliyah got a ton of jungle monster damage nerfs because they recognized that the Faded Ashes was so strong as an item, and they wanted to keep Taliyah's power level low.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pretty even split amongst jungle and mid lane throughout the split as of now. The last match I see on record was Closer playing it in the LCK, FearX versus DRX. He actually won with it, but that was mid lane, so it wasn't a jungle play. The last jungle one was NIP versus LGD in the LPL on the 30th of July against Lillia, so there is a little bit of precedent for what's happening. And Busio really low.
Wait, but Busio is in deep
Dead.
trouble. The Ignite, that's first blood going over to BVOY once again.
2 games out of 2. This time it's so early, it's in the multi-lane cam for BVOY and Zeyzal. Just another hook, burns the heal as well. Shopify coming out strong.
I mean, one of the strengths for Shopify has always been BVOY and Zeyzal as a duo lane synergy. We saw in Spring Split, even when Shopify were trading some games here and trading some games there, BVOY was a constant, reliable factor in some of those wins.
I mean, let's get this in the full screen. It's pretty straightforward here. Zeyzal just tags him with the auto attack, is able to hold his hook the entire time. They don't even need to get the level 2. They just got enough free hits down onto Busio. A sneaky level 1 kill there by BVOY and Zeyzal.
Yeah, it just seemed like a disrespect of the Ashe power early on.
Yeah.
You just, those slows build up, and the Hail of Blades gets that quick flurry of auto attacks, and then it almost seems like by the time you realize you made a mistake, it's already too late.
Especially because Zeyzal held the hook that entire time, so very well done there by Shopify, but they had the same outcome in game 1, still couldn't close it out. So that's one of those first bloods where you need to be able to take advantage of it beyond just the initial injection of gold. And that's, I believe, why Boogie was looking bot lane. They were hoping that they'd be able to get some type of fighter all in, but again, jungler's just kind of in that 7-camp clear mode. Let's see, though. Wave pushing against him. Boogie wants to sneak behind.
He knows that Busio doesn't have flash, so it could be a decent setup if Zeyzal wants to flash in, tag him for the auto, and then set up that seismic shove. Full combo for Taliyah.
They really want to. It's a huge wave. Good ward. It's kind of a fake hawk shot there, but that no.
I mean, it's a decent chunk into Massu. He doesn't go down, but Zeyzal's going to still continue the charge against Busio. Massu's now separated. He's going to look for an execution arrow, but it's not enough. Shopify are going to continue the advantage through bot.
I'm a little shocked that Massu died there. He had flash the entire time. I think wanted to save the flash and not just go back to his turret when he originally gets hit by Boogie. And then by the time he would have been able to flash, it was too late. So, well done by Boogie, just kind of hanging out.
FakeGod might be in trouble. Bwipo still has flash, but FakeGod could answer with a flash of his own. The wave is not in the greatest spot for Shopify, but speaking of wave states, chat, the wave is pushing away from Massu as he just died. So now Shopify have this sizable advantage where if Boogie just wants to run back another gank onto the bot side of the map and pressure Massu even further out of the game, which is why Inspired is now forced to respond on the bottom side of the map to make sure that they can get the crash in.
Yeah, I really like actually what Boogie's doing right now where he's clearing his camps because it's a little bit too chaotic to just spend the whole game bot lane like that and they get the attention of the Lillia nonetheless. Plus, he's going to be able to clear top to bottom, hit level 5, and then still pull off the same gank. So Shopify's just got to keep hammering this bot lane 2v2 with ganks and fights.
Zeyzal getting aggressive once again, knowing that Busio cannot really challenge them whenever they have the wave pressed up like that. The overall item advantage as well, it's not necessarily super huge, but in the gold shards, BVOY has a massive 1k advantage over, and I imagine that once he gets a chance to recall, he's going to really hammer that advantage in against Massu and Busio. So this is now a question that FlyQuest have to answer. Do they let Massu and Busio kind of figure this lane problem out on their own, or do they start sending more resources for the rest of the map to deal with it?
I think you kind of have to let them play, but Inspired is feeling the pressure at the moment. At the very least, they can clear out some control wards here. Getting the cleanse should be fairly effective for a future gank if they hit level 6 and want to go for the all-in. So I'd say nice success there by Inspired to actually get something from the bottom lane, but you can see it cost them grubs, so this is a much better start to Game 2 than it was to Game 1.
Yeah,
and they had a pretty good start to Game 1.
Yep, and FlyQuest don't necessarily have the priority and the control to set up Dragon either, so Shopify rotate immediately from grubs, now moving on over to the bottom riverside. Yeah, they don't get the crab, but FlyQuest are not going to be strong enough to look for a Dragon play themselves. So Shopify now with a better macro map play in this game too.
Yeah, they're going to be able to control all the objectives because, as you mentioned, you're not really taking that Drake when Ashe is going to be level 6 and Nautilus is going to be far ahead of your own support. FlyQuest really have to display a lot of patience here and kind of bide their time. I think they're going to have to at least give over the first Drake they just need to stop the bleeding more than anything else. Massu should not be that close to the wall.
The minion wave does not save him. Locked down from Zeyzal, still has a flash. The Ignite is ticking down, and he's going to still be alive. He's going to rely on chucking those health pots to keep him healthy, but curious if that will call for Inspired's attention once again, just to make sure that they don't lose the Crash contest wave, as BVOY and Zeyzal still have level 6s, or BVOY has level 6 available. Zeyzal should be dinging 6 pretty soon.
Delicate situation right here for FlyQuest, because you know Shopify want to try and dive this. They don't have the Taliyah with them, so Inspired actually is in the right place. It could go bad.
Oh, Shopify thought that they had the advantage, but it's a 3v2. Inspired is at the right place at the right time, but BVOY still steps forward and knows the only way out is at least taking Massu down with him. Zeyzal gonna do his best Spider-Man impression to get the way out of there, but he's locked in. Quad is on the other side, and Inspired with 2 kills in the game.
Another bailout by Inspired in this game, just kind of hanging around as Bwipo also goes for Insanity.
And he got the first proc with a slice so he could dice and follow Insanity over the wall. Boogie uses the Weaver's Wall to cut off Quad, but Bwipo still might solo kill him, but it's not enough. The seismic shove at the last possible second keeps Insanity alive.
Very close trade in the mid lane right there. It actually is going to benefit FakeGod because he got some free time. And it continues. Boogie and BVOY are going.
The slows from BVOY are setting up the damage from the rocks, and Boogie and Quad is now forced to flash. Zeyzal's trying to get in range, but Quad able to create enough distance. But now he's down a Summer Spell, will be forced to teleport back to the mid lane. And Shopify continuing to show that they are not a team to be underestimated in the early stages of the game.
They really aren't, but you can see the desperation a little bit with Shopify just because they had such an organic advantage in that bottom lane. And I think if they're really thinking clearly about their win conditions, that Cloud Drake died 3 minutes ago. It's still up. They're no closer to Soul. They haven't extended their gold lead. That 2v2 dive would have felt really good to get an extra kill, but the fact that they gave the bounty over to Lillia, who now is going to be a win condition to FlyQuest, is regretful for them for sure. Now they are going for the Drake, but it is definitely delayed compared to what would have been optimal.
And it goes back to what we were talking about in Game 1, where Shopify, yes, they found these advantages, but they weren't being aware of what is the next best step and course of action. It's not always going super aggressive. Obviously, they needed it when Boogie came back in, since they were such a passive team in the first 3 weeks. But now Shopify, even in these moments of desperation, they have to compose themselves and recognize the best course of action is not always forcing a fight.
Yeah, to just dive bot. I mean, they haven't even gotten plates down bottom with how much of an advantage they've had. So credit to them to being able to get the kills, which they might get more of.
But they're going to fight and force the fight. Busio gets caught in the face check, but he's going to still engage the fight with the Magnastorm. BVOY takes him down. Inspired is here. Seismic shove is massive. Can Boogie finish him off? The lilting lullaby is going to put them into sleep. The Eve bursts out Zeyzal, and Boogie is now on the run. Massu can just look for one more arrow. Boogie flashes over the wall. The seismic shove pushes him back into Insanity. Can he look for a trade kill? And now the calling is opened up. Quad trying to pelt him with these rockets. Boogie doing everything he can to help him with the wall. Insanity is not enough to take out FlyQuest jungler.
Inspired is actually so good right now. He is keeping this team alive. It's now just a 200 gold deficit for FlyQuest with the disaster of what is happening down in the bot lane. It's one of those games as a jungler where you know this lane's in trouble, but the other team's going to keep exposing themselves and you can counter it. So he's just hanging around there by the Gromp as Busio gets engaged on. And credit to Busio for actually getting all of his cooldowns off before this fight starts so that they can one-shot BVOY. But the thing I love here about Inspired is that he didn't burn his Drowsy on the initial kill. He saves it for the second kill, and then just the spacing he has on Lillia here to keep his passive up with the Q on that last minion, so he's still at full stacks, moving very quickly, and just moving in and out, keeping Insanity interested, gets an extra Q, and then even at the end here, you can see Insanity moved in a little bit more, which allowed Quad to get the Q over the wall. Beautifully played by Inspired's Lillia.
Yeah, Inspired having so much gold at that stage of the game. the extra HP from the Leandries. He knows his limits on this champion. He knows how far on the line he can toe to continue baiting Shopify into further bad decisions. As now a 3-man dive onto the top side. Bwipo already popped the ultimate. He's getting burned down. It doesn't seem like there's any contest. Nice empowered Cole of the Meek to sustain him through the dive, but it's still not enough. Shopify will find one and look to take out this tower.
And they got 6 grubs, so they're getting a whole bunch of extra help on this turret. Let's see if FlyQuest can get a counter kill on Insanity, though.
Yep, 3-man counter dive into the mid lane. Insanity, no chance to survive that one. Inspired with his 4th kill of the second game.
Gotta say, that one probably feels a little bit too easy if you're Shopify. You make this nice play against Bwipo, you send the farm at him, though, and if you send 4 people top, something else is happening. Insanity is not allowed to be at that turret at that point. So, first turret is right now the injection of gold that you see to give them the 1.4 thousand gold advantage. I'm trying to see where exactly that went. I think half of it ended up going to Ashe. So we're again in a situation now where BVOY really needs to step up, but the team of Shopify need to find a way to group up and use this Ashe without just getting picked off by Inspired's Lillia over and over again.
Yeah, it's a battle of what was one of the most constant, reliable factors of Shopify's success, even in spring. BVOY was our first all-pro AD carry, and it's one of the first times we've ever seen a player from a bottom-performing team still make the top of the all-pro ballots.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that Inspired is no slouch himself either. Second all-pro in spring, a multi-region MVP, I think the only MVP of both LEC and LCS. I mean, this guy, if he gets gold, he's not going to waste it. This is someone who has already shown in game 1 how effective he can be on the Lillia, and the fact that he's got it again for a second round, he's not wasting any time with it.
Yeah, 5,900 gold, 700 ahead of Taliyah, only about 400 total gold behind BVOY. So really just trying to run the same game plan he did in game 1. And I'd say, even comparing spring to summer, this is even more Inspired's team in summer than it was in spring, with the change to the jungle meta and Inspired really committing to these AP power-clearing junglers where he's taking all the resources and kind of, you know, making the rest of his team fend for themselves while he does what's best for him.
Yep.
Because it generally works. Again, a reminder of the situation we're in. FlyQuest, with a win here and a win next week against Cloud9, would be the 2nd seed and would get a playoff bye, even if they have been underperforming or underhyped in the summer split so far. Gets that first round bye, LCS top 2 finishers. And on the side of Shopify, this is all cards on the table. If they get swept here, they're out of playoffs.
Yep.
If they win even a single game, there's still scenarios where they can get tiebreakers or make it in. So very, very important what happens in the next 10 or 15 minutes.
And you can almost sympathize with Shopify of why they're feeling so desperate, why they need to press the gas so hard. And it's starting to come at a cost in a few of these situations where they're overlooking some of the variables that could be answered by FlyQuest in response. But Shopify being able to pick up the 2nd tier turret on the top side in trade for FlyQuest picking up the 2nd dragon of the game.
I think FlyQuest is going to be fine with this trade. It delays the eventual soul. They're still going to come online with some really strong poke later in the game with Corki and Lillia, even if Varus is gone, the attack speed variant of the build. I can see the adjustment that Shopify is trying to make from game 1, where they felt like they under-prioritized turrets. Here they have 6 grubs, so they want to make use of that, and they get a big gold injection by taking that 2nd tier turret. But because it cost them the Drake, FlyQuest will still be able to really bleed this game out to a long, long, long game.
And if we learn anything from game 1, Jatt, who cares about dragons if you can just find one late game fight and just end the Nexus off of that push?
It's very true. Inspired still farming up a storm. Boogie really farming well, though. 132 CS on Taliyah. Just noticed that. Only 400 gold behind the Lillia. So still no reason to panic. It's just weird. I have this impending sense of dread at the moment for Shopify, because if these nameplates were switched, I'd just be talking about how well they're controlling the game, how they have 6 grubs, how they're picking up all this extra gold, who cares, blah, blah, blah. But just based on how the season has gone, with Shopify leading the league in the stat called close percentage, but still being like 2-11 in game score, means they have not been good at closing out games.
Yeah, it's the power of precedence, right? For Shopify, we saw the first 3 weeks be almost nothing, and now with Boogie back in the lineup, they're starting to find their footing and be more aggressive, be more proactive. but it was only successful in one of those weeks as the loss against NRG went super long, and they lost in those clutch moments past the 50-minute mark. And FlyQuest, I mean, they are just a level above the opponents that Shopify faced in weeks 4 and 5. So FlyQuest are always going to be able to find a sizable advantage on the other side of the map.
This is rather interesting, though. It's Grubs versus a Rift Herald base race edition, because they're killing inhibitor turrets right now.
And Shopify panicking. Boogie joining the fight against Busio as FakeGod already slammed him into the wall. Already on the hunt for Massu. He's burned the flash already, but the wall connects. Another rock lands for the slow. And Shopify managed to pick up 2 kills on the bottom inhibitor as well. And because of the depth of those 2 laners from FlyQuest, Inspired and Bwipo had to bail from the top push on the inhibitor.
So the game of inhibitor chicken is won by Shopify there. They actually have to recall from that bot push since the mid lane lost so badly. An extra turret goes to Shopify, so now it's 6 turrets to 4, plus that big inhibitor. So the question now will be, what will Shopify do with that extra inhibitor pressure? The inhibitor will still be dead when Baron spawns, so Shopify will have a lot of map pressure going forward.
We go back into the replay. It's just really strong collapse and proactivity from Boogie, not wasting a second to find the pick.
And I think FlyQuest lost track of the Taliyah a little bit with all the chaos that must have been happening, with bot inhibitor being attacked by Rift Herald, Lillia, and Corki, and then top lane being attacked by Ashe and Nautilus. So nice gank there by Boogie.
And with the bottom inhibitor now taken by Shopify Rebellion, you have so much strong side lane pressure without needing an extra man to attend to those waves all the time. You can now start setting up strong vision into the top quadrant and get ready for Baron in the next couple of minutes.
They absolutely can. But I'm looking at the vision right now. Thanks for the toggle observers. Not any deep vision in the spots of the map where they already have deep turret kills. So Shopify needs to make sure not to rush too much through this in fear of getting picked. But getting control of this Baron while they have super minions down in the bot side is important, because you have to keep in mind that they're not going to be getting any gold from those bot lane minions. All of it's going to be going over to FlyQuest. So if nothing happens positive for Shopify, the gold will actually creep up a little bit for FlyQuest. That's the cons of this early inhibitor being taken for Shopify.
And the fact that they still have to wait another 40 seconds before they can start pressuring that neutral objective means that Shopify are just kind of in a dead state of playing back and forth, of pushing up mid and top waves, going into that red buff quadrant, making sure that they're maintaining that vision control, which is already set up. Boogie and BVOY staying on the map while Insanity redeployed so that he can attend to the wave on the top side of the map. And now FlyQuest, they're going to have to answer the question of how far they want to start checking into the darkness, which is that top red buff quadrant.
And I mean, Shopify's pretty pot committed into this Baron at this point with how many wards they just dumped in this jungle. They're hoping to get a pick first when FlyQuest checks. But for all FlyQuest knows, the Baron's already started. Let's see how they use these blue trinkets, because they do have 2 up. They don't even have to use one, and Busio notices them.
This is where composure is so critical for Shopify. You see an opportunity for the pick, but you cannot be too hasty with your moves when you're using Fog of War to your advantage.
Going in maybe once again.
Inspired face checks. The dredge line does not land.
This is all 4v5, by the way. Bwipo's just dealing with super minions.
Insanity maybe. Gets tagged by Inspired. He's locked down. He still has a flash. Can he get out? He flashes to the right side. Zeyzal doesn't get a chance to lock him in, but it might be Busio that pays the price. Bwipo teleports into the fight, tries to stall it as long as he can, but Busio's already fallen. It's a 5-on-4, still available for Shopify. FakeGod has teleport. Even though he's low on HP, can always rejoin the fight. Will Shopify start the Baron? It looks like they will.
It's a nice sequence. They want to start this, but it's 21 minutes. It doesn't die very fast. Inspired still alive. No flash or stopwatch. Down to 10K. Corki's in base. I think they just get this.
Yeah, Quad has to attend to the super minions pouring in through the bottom side of the map. They have that pressure thanks to the couple minutes sequence earlier before. Shopify claim the first Baron of the game. And you can start to feel the hope from the crowd once again. The Shopify Rebellion fans all showing up, trying to give everything they can to this team who are down on their last legs.
Backs against the wall. If they lose this game, they are eliminated from the LCS. Even a single win here and a series loss, they would still be alive. A series win and a series win next week, though, would actually make them go into playoffs because they'd move to 3-match wins. So there might be some tiebreakers that prevent that from happening, but they'd have very good chances if they win both of their future 2 games. Also, a fun fact, Raafaa. I just heard from my producers. It depends how fun you think this is. 16th fastest inhibitor in LCS history in this game, which to me seems... I'm actually shocked with how many lane swap years we had. The fact that none of them took the... Well, that 17 of them didn't take the inhibitor prior to 17 minutes is surprising.
Yeah.
But you never know. Things happen. Crazy things happen in Shopify games. Like, this is the first time we've announced, like, oh yeah, 16th, longest game ever.
Yeah, it's such a weird number that I feel like...
It's kind of cool, though. I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating, but now it's just racking up my brain of like, well, what other games were the other fastest?
They must have all been lane swaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say this is probably like the second fastest non-lane swap inhib ever, and I'm not fact-checking it because it's too hard.
Our eyes are on this game, and we got to make sure we are attentive to seeing what Shopify can do with this Baron push. The Weaver's Wall, nicely played by Boogie. Pushes FlyQuest momentarily back. Decent chip damage onto the turret. FlyQuest now trying to lead the charge. Zeyzal tanks it up. Massive depth charge on the 3 members. And good poke with the culling from Insanity. And this turret is ready to fall. Just a couple more auto attacks. As FakeGod, meanwhile, was working through the mid lane. Massu could not hold him off. And now the base has been completely cracked open by Shopify.
Shopify getting chance. Hope is rising. 6,000 gold lead. Every inhibitor is open. But they're still going to have to find a way to end this game. 6,000 gold ahead right now. They're looking very good. And they look quite good for a lot of Game 1. So there's a lot to be hopeful about with Shopify here. It's just a matter of clutching up and actually finishing this game.
Correct. And this is where composure is so critical from Shopify Rebellion. We have seen games in the past. I think back to that NRG series where Shopify had such a commanding position through a majority of the game. And all it takes is just one mis-executed fight, and then it's just over. I do want to mention, though, while we're in a lull state, Summer Bash Tailgate is next Saturday, August 10th at 11 a.m. So make sure you are here an hour early, because that is when all the action will be starting up, and then we'll be opening doors around 12 o'clock for the pre-show. So it's going to be a fun time. But right now, Shopify, they've got to lock in, Jatt.
They do.
They are so close to winning just one game. And as you mentioned before, winning just one game keeps their playoff chances alive.
And they have the tools here. They have super minions in mid lane. They don't have quick Drake stacking, so it's a little tricky to get an organic way for FlyQuest to move up towards them. But if they keep the waves pushed, they keep strong vision, and they find it engaged with an Ashe arrow or a Nautilus hook, I think they have big enough gold leads that they can just win a straight-up fight, which wasn't as true in that first game.
Yeah.
So they're definitely pushing waves, setting up vision, and trying to find what would be a game-ending pick, I think.
Because the Dragon is still not spawning for another couple of minutes. Shopify just maintaining that control on the top side. I would not be surprised if Shopify, say, forego the Dragon when it spawns and force FlyQuest to defend the top side, because this is an open base.
Yeah. And they're so far away from Soul anyway. There's a bit of a risk of just wanting to prevent the other team from getting Soul, because that's kind of the only way FlyQuest comes back into this game, they think. But it'll be interesting to see how they play this out. Just waiting for a possible engage. If Inspired gets the right E on someone, it could mean...
Dredge line onto Bwipo. Is it the engage? Inspired Q flash right onto the back line. One cleanse on the BVOY, but Boogie is forced to pop the stasis. Insanity blows up Busio. Bwipo holding everything he can with the Seraph Gauge. Goes in, dies, and Boogie doesn't even go down. Shopify still have 5 members strong. FakeGod could be in trouble. Tries to hop away. Inspired goes in with the Eve, but FakeGod flashes away. Shopify stay alive.
They get 2 for 0, but they're also low. It doesn't look like they can make much of this map state. Increases their goal lead slightly, lets them recall, probably end up picking up that Drake and threatening Baron on the way back. These are the types of fights, though, that are very close, because even though the hook landed, Gnar is on mid-wave right now, so Zeyzal starts a 4v5 when he's the 4. That means Inspired instantly flashes in, gets a double sleep onto BVOY and Boogie. Cleanse stops one, Stopwatch stops the other though, which doesn't allow FlyQuest to follow up on this. And 2 more kills end up going over to Insanity. Nice little bit of juking at the end by FakeGod there to stay alive. And now the next Drake is up. I think Shopify should just pick this up before pressuring Baron.
Zeyzal's going to be seen recalling on a ward. We'll see if FlyQuest try to use that to their advantage, but with super minions pouring in through the mid wave, there's no chance that they can even contest. Shopify pick up their second dragon of the game. That does mean the next neutral objective for play is Baron, which is spawning just in a couple of seconds, and FlyQuest are already taking measures necessary to get that defensive vision in their red buff quadrant.
Man, what a story this will be if Shopify comes back and wins this series. I'm not trying to jinx it. I'm just thinking, like, they're up 6,000 gold. They're literally on the brink of elimination. If they can't close out this game, it would be the most crushing way to be eliminated from the LCS. But I want to see them close this one out, get a pick, and end the game. Busio trying to flank, though. He's spotted out.
Boogie maintaining a position for the left side so he can cut off FlyQuest members with that Weaver's Wall. FlyQuest have to respect it. The arrow does not land on Inspired. They were trying to fish for him, knowing that he did not have flash from the fight before, but no dice.
That's true. I guess it's worth the try. A lot of times you want those arrows to be from Fog of War. It looked a bit like a lackluster engage, but now arrow down makes it more difficult to make a play happen around Baron. It's allowing FlyQuest time to reset. Busio goes back, refills his ward stock, 4 sight wards, 2 control wards. Trinkets not even needing to be used yet by FlyQuest, so FlyQuest has so many different ways to sniff out a Baron start.
Thankfully for FlyQuest, no more super minions will be pouring into the base for now. All 3 inhibitors are back up.
Yeah.
So Shopify now relying on just using Fog to get it and create an advantage to force FlyQuest to come into them. Bwipo is lurking around, dashes away from the unraveled earth.
So much pressure on Shopify right now because this has also been their weakness throughout the split. Unifying as a team on how to close out these games. That's a Drowsy.
Zeyzal goes in, sacks his life for the cause. Bwipo tries to dash onto BVOY to capitalize. They find the pick! And FlyQuest are now wiping out 2. They wipe out 3! FakeGod will try to scoop them back, and they find a kill on an Inspired. Boogie's still alive. It means that FlyQuest would have a tough time trying to contest for Baron since Boogie can come in and smite it, but they're going to go for it anyway.
Raafaa, I'm actually crushed right now. I do not want this to be a 2-0. I'm sorry, I just have to say it. I want to see the banger. Let's see if Boogie can keep their season alive here as Taliyah.
Fog, 4K on the Baron. FlyQuest have to be careful about how they handle this. FakeGod still in mini form, trying to maintain vision so that Boogie can go in, but he doesn't have flash. He goes golden with his Zonias. The turn from FlyQuest. They try to pop him. Massive damage onto 2. FakeGod about to go Vega, and he's going to look for Massu next. He's in trouble. Dodges the rock, but FakeGod still has the hop and the crunch. Gnar into the wall! FakeGod with the triple! Keeps Shopify alive!
They're teleporting on mid-wave as well. They might try and push for more. They have a free wave, an open inhib. Only Inspired is alive, but no Baron. I think they want to end.
10 seconds on Busio, 20 seconds on Bwipo. It's up to FakeGod, Insanity, and Zeyzal right now.
Busio's up. Inspired has Flash and R.
It's going to be close here, Jatt. 4 members for Shopify. Inspired and Busio holding the line, but I think death timers are too short for Shopify to close out. They just take that time to take out 2 inhibitors, and that's all they're going to get.
What a banger this is at the moment. Still a 6,000 gold lead for Shopify. It looked like this pick from Inspired was going to be the thing that brings FlyQuest back into the game. Barely gets BVOY with that E, and they just say, let's go. Busio had been sneaking around the backside, so they can absolutely clean the rest of them at the end of this fight, getting Insanity as well. But then, FakeGod and Boogie. FakeGod's Gnar has been so clutch, actually pushed them off the Baron. Inspired says, we pushed a little bit too hard here in this particular fight, where Boogie delays the initial engage with his stopwatch, lands a great seismic shove onto quad, and that allows FakeGod to clean up the back end of this fight on the Gnar, where he's now 4-0-5 and again in a strong position. But let's see, we got a fight happening.
Oh, inspired.
He's got flash.
He has flash. Flashes the dredge line. Busio trying to hold the front line. Meanwhile, Bwipo is stalling BVOY and Insanity on the other side of the wall. Massu trying to pelt him down with arrows. It's up to FakeGod. Quad already popped Zeyzal. FakeGod doing everything he can to hold it. Bwipo is still lurking in the shadows, but BVOY has some vision as he flashes over the wall away from Busio. Insanity finishes off Bwipo. Now here comes Shopify Rebellion. Maybe for the second fight, Busio's popped by BVOY, but I don't think it's enough for Shopify to push it in.
It's enough for Shopify to get an even bigger advantage, though. It's a 2-for-1, and it's likely an uncontested Baron, since FlyQuest need to deal with super minions in the mid and the bot lane. It's never easy for Shopify. FlyQuest is doing so much to keep this game alive. Inspired is finding so many picks. It feels like there's always a Rell and a Renekton on a flank, but Shopify is surviving.
And Jatt, I think this has been FakeGod's best performance this summer split so far, and what a time for it to arrive in Shopify's most dire moment.
Yeah. And I also got to say, historically, FakeGod has had a really tough time against Bwipo. He's playing so well against what has really been one of, like, his nemesis, it feels like, in the LCS. Let's watch FakeGod in this fight. Flashes to safety. Bwipo trying to buy time on the back end. Ends up falling. And then BVOY really just being extremely strong at the end. Revan thinks this game should have been over 8 minutes ago. That's why he's down in the seat like that. And he knows the season is over in a couple minutes if they don't do this right. This has been their issue this year, is actually closing out the game as the real God has connected to this game. Not a fake lead this game like it was in game one.
FlyQuest are so tenacious that even with this massive advantage from Shopify, it still doesn't feel like a 7,000 gold advantage. It feels just as close as an even game state.
Doesn't get much better than this. 2 waves of supers and Baron minions in the top side. You'd want to be able to break all 3 inhibitors and then slowly move up to the top, or if FlyQuest overcommits to defending this Baron wave, your 2 waves of supers can reach the Nexus turrets and you can start killing these.
They're pushing in super minions on the Nexus tower, empowered by the Baron buff. FlyQuest doing what they can to hold the line, enduring the siege, but the top inhibitor falls thanks to FakeGod. Busio attempting to weave his way around and look for a flank, but FlyQuest knows that the only way forward is from under the Nexus towers as they now try to hold on. The engage on the Bwipo, he's blown up! Shopify with the first kill! Inspired is next! FlyQuest down to the last 3 members for the base defense! Here comes FakeGod! A flash from Quad, keeps himself alive, but Boogie sends it on the Quad instead! Down to the last legs, but Shopify still stand tall and keep their playoff dreams alive!
Let's go, Shopify, bringing us to a 3rd game against FlyQuest. It started with some dominant play in the bot lane by BVOY and Zeyzal, and then they just had to work for it. FlyQuest put up such a strong base defense. What a play there by Shopify. 7-2-13 on that jungle Taliyah, 5-0-6 on FakeGod's Gnar. One more gives them the series.
It's a confidence boost that you need to survive. But with that, we're going to head on over to the LCS Lounge to break that banger of a Game 2 down.
Thank you very much, Raafaa. Welcome back to the LCS Lounge. That was something.
Yeah. As just as the camera was coming to us, you had some words. You're like, what do I say about this one? Maybe with the next split or whatever, man. But like, what would you say about this game?
Okay, so first of all, Shopify has a good early game.
Yep.
Busio is dying in lane for, I don't know why he died in lane this game. It was kind of weird. He's got attack to death, level 1.
Yeah.
That started the whole early game for Shopify, but actually really good team fights from Shopify. But it just didn't close very well. I think they had a 6 goal lead for like 10 minutes in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that from a lot of the bottom half of the table teams, where sometimes even when they get these large leads, they don't necessarily know how to close. The big thing for me, though, is, again, Boogie on a comfort pick like this Taliyah, which we're not seeing as a power pick jungle, but he was able to affect his lanes early. He was able to camp that bot lane once they started dying.
You pick it with like Renekton or something, so you have guaranteed setup for your tactics shove, right? In this game, they didn't have that, and he still made it work in team fights. I think the big thing was just that Shopify had so much lane pressure brought this game. They even like had that one time where they drove them 2v2 and Inspire was there, got a double kill. That was kind of bad for them. But still, I like seeing that they're, you know, not faltering, even though they're at match point, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the actual gold curve looks a little smooth. Revan did not feel that at all.
There's a little dip right past 30 minutes. Yeah. Just like, eh.
There were some moments. I want to call out FakeGod, who has had so far an amazing series, even in the loss that they had. He's looked incredible. There were some moments, we even saw one of those in the replay, where it looked like FlyQuest was fighting back, but not only did we get the Taliyah flick, but also an ulti from the Gnar that ended up finding them like a victory in that fight. And as you can see, Bwipo has some choice.
Yeah, he is not happy.
He's not happy.
I feel like Fly's gotta go blue side in next game, and they can just use one ban for the Gnar. I feel like Bwipo's best champion is Renekton. Has been for a long time.
Yeah.
Just ban the Gnar. It's FakeGod's best champion and the best answer he has to Renekton. Just ban it on blue.
True.
On red side, you can't spare the bans, but on blue, you definitely can.
On blue, do you think they also changed their Ashe prio? Because that's something we've been talking about, has been getting through drafts, and we've been a little bit surprised considering how strong she is in the 2v2.
I want to say FlyQuest balling could just play better. I don't feel like the way they died was a champion issue. He just got right-clicked to death, level 1.
Yeah.
Fighting for prio when he couldn't get the prio. So you could just try again, kind of.
Yeah.
So they could, but I don't think they have to.
Okay.
One thing that I just really want to point out, the fact that Shopify's playoffs lives are free.
Yes, they are saved.
They are saved, no matter how this series ends, that they can go into next week still fighting for their chances.
They're playing who next week?
Even if they lose, they have a tiny,
That's a good question.
tiny sliver. They're playing 100 Thieves.
Okay,
but first,
winnable.
they have to see if they can beat FlyQuest. We're going to toss to break, and Game 3 is on the other side of that.
Hello and welcome to Immortals Progressive's Epic Game Show. I'm joined by 3 amazing competitors. Gentlemen, how are we feeling? Please refrain from pressing the button. It is great that we did not cover any rules.
It's cool for 400.
The ancient Egyptian empire was based on what continent?
What? I don't even understand the question.
What do you mean?
Pretty self-explanatory, personally.
Is the question what the Egyptian empire was or what the continent was?
There's words on the screen, and if you read them...
I thought I meant based, like it was based on. You know what I mean?
That's based. Just location.
Their mid has move timer now. You guys have 15 seconds.
Oh, I did?
Oh, shit.
Don't be scared. I'm sleeping
Yeah,
Taliyah.
yeah,
we're going.
Lucian, walk
TP Gnar. I'm backing, okay?
Yeah,
Hands no flash, don't chase.
Don't take. Oh, we can take it. Take it and do Nash in 2 minutes.
Yeah, take it.
They got Varus. Push me.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Lillia no flash.
Look Rell, no flash.
Rell's no flash.
I have
Kite back.
I'm
look Renekton, guys.
He's dead.
Okay, I have no hook here.
Go Taliyah.
Lucian.
Gnar, no flash. No flash, Gnar.
Yeah.
Looks hard, but try to kill who you can.
Oh,
Nice. Look,
Varus no flash.
Corki.
Varus no flash.
Oh, yeah.
No flash.
Get him.